Welcome to this explainer. Today we're stepping right past those blinding arena lights and the fading adrenaline of UFC 330. We're going to dive into the truly gritty, almost cinematic reality of Islam Makhachev's historic night. We're unraveling the sheer physical agony, some incredibly shadowy backroom politics, and a legacy that is literally reshaping mixed martial arts as we know it.
To set the tone here, during the fight, Islam's opponent, Ian Gary, reportedly kept trying to high-five and hug him between rounds. But Islam's response at the press conference? It was absolutely chilling. He basically said, "Look, I don't get it. We don't have to hug every round. We are going to war to break the face, to break the eye. This is not a game." It just perfectly captures that ruthless, completely dialed-in mindset you need to survive in the octagon.
All right, Section 1, Shattering UFC History. Let's get right into it. For the longest time, the legendary Anderson Silva held what everybody thought was a totally untouchable record of 16 consecutive UFC wins. But with this victory, Islam Makhachev completely eclipsed that milestone, locking in his 17th straight win. And the wild part? He just casually brushed it off at the mic. He simply smiled and said, "Now it's no more Anderson Silva record. I like this."
But wait, it actually gets crazier. The records absolutely did not stop there. Beyond his personal glory, Islam secured a staggering 100th collective MMA win for his elite team. Think about the sheer scale of that for a second. Fighting alongside giants like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Umar, and Usman, this single victory wasn't just for Islam. It cemented an entire century of dominance for a tight-knit brotherhood that is systematically taking over the sport.
This unstoppable Dagestani dynasty is actively fueled by what they call Abdulmanap's legacy, named of course after Habib's late father and coach. Islam described walking into a gym full of killers who train together every single day. They aren't just teammates, They are literally brothers forged in absolute, unbreakable discipline.
Moving on to Section 2, Inside the Brutal War.
So Islam actually opened up about the immense psychological frustration of battling an opponent who just refuses to engage. He explained that Ian Gary was a total nightmare to fight because he would literally just stand and wait for a mistake. It is incredibly difficult to put on an explosive performance when you're the only one moving forward, which turns the whole fight into this grueling, agonizing tactical grind.
So here's how that played out. Islam felt he won the first 2 rounds easily. He even dropped Gary with a massive head kick. But as the fight wore on, the judges somehow gave the 3rd and 4th rounds away. Going into that 5th round, the tension was through the roof. Khabib and the corner were frantically demanding that Islam absolutely had to win this final round. Drawing on some deep reserves, he finally secured that decisive takedown to avoid a disastrous judge's decision.
And the physical toll? Just brutal. Picture this. At the end of the 4th round, a massive slam leads to a vicious, totally accidental headbutt to the back of Islam's head. He recounted how he didn't even realize his nose was bleeding at first, but suddenly blinding blood was just pouring out. He actually believed his nose was entirely crushed right then and then in the middle of the cage. Yet somehow he fought through it. Now you might be thinking this was his hardest night in the octagon. Actually, scratch that. Despite the blinding blood, the headbutt, and the 25-minute grind, Islam made a really surprising admission. His hardest fight is still that absolute war against Alexander Volkanovski down in Australia. He called Volkanovski a dog, which, by the way, in MMA is literally the highest compliment you can give a guy. That relentless pressure and hostile territory was just a completely different animal than the waiting game of UFC 330.
Which brings us to Section 3, the welterweight transition.
He detailed the hidden, behind-the-scenes agony of shedding 15 extra pounds just to make that lightweight limit. For us average folks, it's almost impossible to grasp the brutal diet and severe dehydration these guys go through. Because of that nightmare, Islam declared he is permanently moving up to the 170-pound welterweight division. He basically wants to retain his knockout power and actually enjoy his life during fight week rather than suffering through a miserable cut.
But here's the catch. Stepping up to 170 means you're jumping headfirst into the UFC's absolute shark tank. That division is absolutely loaded with killers right now. When reporters asked him about contenders like Carlos Prates and Michael Morales arguing backstage for a title shot, Islam literally welcomed the chaos. He acknowledged that guys like them, plus monsters like Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jack Della Maddalena, make this the most powerful division in the sport. Having real contenders breathing down his neck forces him to train harder every single day.
And finally, Section 4, Unresolved Mysteries and Legacy. Okay, this part blew my mind. During the presser, he casually drops this massive bombshell. There was apparently a scrapped, completely secret fight scheduled against current champion Ilia Topuria at the White House. The public knew absolutely nothing about this. It really cracks open the door to the shadowy business of how these mega fights are made. So what actually caused this historic champion versus champion super fight to fall apart?
Let's follow the money trail for a second. Islam revealed he never declined the fight. His manager called him with the offer, Islam gave it the green light, and they negotiated a massive payout. But literally, the very next day, the deal collapsed. According to Islam, Topuria's camp asked for way more money, and when the UFC said no, they walked. And to cover it up, Topuria's side allegedly started spreading false rumors that Islam was injured. Islam essentially used this mic time to set the record straight once and for all. He didn't duck anybody.
So, looking ahead, it's a literal race against the clock for the 34-year-old champion. First, he's got to get medical clearance for that potentially broken nose. But because he avoided severe leg damage in the Gary fight, he wants to get back in there ASAP. The suspenseful part? The hard deadline is February 2025 when Ramadan begins. He explicitly stated he needs to book his next title defense in January before the fasting month forces a complete pause on his competition.
He wrapped up his time at the mic with a promise that honestly gave me chills. Reflecting on his double champ status, his crazy 17-fight win streak, and the team's 100th victory, he said, "It's Abdulmanap's legacy. It's going to go until MMA has this sport. It's not ending today, and it's sure as hell not ending tomorrow. It is a well-oiled machine engineered to completely dominate for as long as mixed martial arts exists."
So Islam has conquered the record books, escaped the draining weight cut, and entered a brand new division with even more power and passion for the sport. Wrapping up this explainer, I want to leave you with one lingering question. When you look at the entire landscape of the UFC today, who, if anyone, actually has the physical and psychological tools to derail this historic Dagestani machine? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the story behind the stats.